Alright guys, today is an episode of The Best of the Rest, covering some of the round of 16 and quarter-final action that I haven't already covered from this World Cup. So we'll get straight into it from Japan versus Croatia. Croatia won on penalties after a 1-1 draw, of course, and yeah, this game, Japan, they followed their usual low possession and quick counter-attack playing style, but they did it slightly earlier on than you would usually expect them to in the game. They did it like pretty much for most of the first half. Really created a lot of chances, played some really nice football, especially for the chance that Daichi Kamada had, which would have been some goal had that gone in. It was really well worked. And Croatia, yeah, they had a couple of chances in the first half, like Japan, but they didn't get much of the ball, really, to be honest. Japan were by far the better side in that first half, just creating so many chances, and they managed to get their goal just before half time through Daisen Maeda, who he scored quite a scrappy goal. It was a very well earned one for Japan at that. They definitely deserved it. However, the one criticism I would have from Japan was in the first half their defence was a little bit weak, and that has happened in games where at the start of the game their defence just didn't seem switched on, and that's happened on a couple of occasions. And Croatia did manage to get a couple of chances, but this got better as the game went on. But unfortunately for Japan, their intensity didn't. Their intensity definitely dropped off after the half-time whistle, because Croatia then started to get a lot more of the ball and scored at the start of the second half through Ivan Perisic, and it was a brilliant header. A great cross from Lovren as well, but the header, 14 yards out, I reckon he is. He's just behind the penalty spot, and he's full on nailed it into the bottom right corner, giving Gonda no chance of saving it, really. Brilliant header, and that drew it level. And yeah, Japan just very little energy from the second half onwards, really, until they brought a few subs on, that is. But the one thing I did notice throughout this game was Luka Modric didn't have a lot of impact on this game, which I thought it might be the difference between the two teams because of the quality he has, but he just couldn't really get involved that much. It sort of passed him by at times, this game, I felt, to be honest. And when subs were made, both teams going into extra time and towards the end of normal time, we're just sort of relying on the subs a little bit for the attacking explosiveness. With Japan, it was Mitoma and also Asano, and for Croatia, it was players like Orsic, Levaya, and so on. And the second half, yeah, Croatia was slightly better, and I felt throughout extra time they were slightly better, but they both had a couple of chances in extra time. And I mean, the one player who really impressed me throughout this game, I've got to be honest, and he's been a bit of an unsung hero for Japan this tournament, is actually Ito. Just the amount of energy he produced. He didn't stop throughout this game. His heat map after the game, I haven't seen it, it must have looked mental, because he was here, there and absolutely everywhere throughout this game. And yeah, Croatia, they gave it a good go in extra time, in fairness to them. A bit more than Japan did, I'll be honest. But yeah, it did go to penalties. And I noticed when they were doing the coin toss that the two captains for both teams were actually the centre-back partnership for Southampton in the 2013-14 season. It was Dejan Lovren and Maya Yoshida. Although actually I think Jose Fonte started ahead of Yoshida that season, so they were two players for Southampton that season playing in centre-back, so you know, they would have played together at some point, I'm sure. But yeah, the penalties, mostly poor from Japan, let's be completely honest. They only scored the one penalty, Croatia scored 3. And yeah, just some very soft penalties from Japan, to be completely honest. Croatia's just were a lot better. That's the truth of it, really. And Livakovic was, again, superb. And the second game I wanted to cover today was Morocco versus Spain. And I've noticed every game I'm going to cover today is Croatia, Morocco, Croatia, Morocco. So there's going to be a lot of flicking between them two teams in particular. But this game, again, brilliant from Morocco. They were so good defensively. And it almost felt like a home game to them, I would imagine, just because the amount of fans they had in the stadium compared to the Spanish fans. Nothing against Spanish fans, it was just incredible support from Morocco, though. It was an even start to the game, very few chances either way. Spain had the more possession, as you'd expect. But yeah, very, very few chances. It was not a thrilling first half at all, to be honest. In all seriousness, the highlight, I think, was the piece of skill that Sofiane Boufal produced to beat Marcus Llorente. He didn't even have to touch the ball, and he just does this incredible body feint, which sends Llorente completely, who was playing right back, I think, for Spain in this game, which, yeah, I understand Marcus Llorente is a very versatile player, but I think in a game like this, like a World Cup knockout game, you want players that are familiar with that position. I understand he can do a job there if everyone's injured, but they did have Azpilicueta on the bench, and I think they also had Carvajal on the bench. So two very experienced right backs who've played in some massive games throughout their careers. I think both have played in multiple European finals. I know for a fact that Dani Carvajal's played in 4 Champions League finals. I think he did get injured in the one against Liverpool, but you know, we're talking about 2 ridiculously experienced players here, and I couldn't understand it at all. In fact, I think they only started 2 defenders from Spain in this game, being Laporte and Jordi Alba, so very confusing, to be honest, from Luis Enrique. And the other thing I noticed from the first half was just how incredible Sofiane Amrabat is. I mean, absolutely, like, just dominating, not dominating as in possession wise, but just like getting to every ball, so many interceptions and tackles, so many, like, just not giving any time on the ball for Gavi or Pedri or Sergio Busquets to do anything with it. It was just an incredible performance from him in particular, I thought. But yeah, Morocco, even though they weren't getting forward as much as Spain in the second half, they still looked more threatening when they were getting forward. Spain, they just had a lot of the ball, but didn't do an awful lot with it, to be completely honest. And yeah, Morocco just sat very deep and did what they do best, defend well. Spain, it just felt like they needed Morata on the pitch for 20 minutes to go. He did come on and did make a bit of a difference, but I just think it's incredible that he didn't start the game after scoring 3-3 in the group stage, the first player to do that for Spain in a long time. And I just think that's a ridiculous decision, because I know people will say about the fact that Spain in 2012 played the most of the tournament with 6 midfielders of, I think the midfield 3 was Xavi, Busquets and Xabi Alonso, and then up front they had David Silva, Fabregas and Iniesta. And obviously none of them resemble anything of strikers. But you can do that when you've got 6 players that are that good. In this team, you haven't got that quality, so you need to have a recognised, at least a forward in that front line who can consistently score goals, which Morata has done. So I thought it was bizarre that he didn't start. And Morocco, I mean, you have to feel sorry for Naya Fagad getting injured. He's only just come back from injury for Morocco as well. In extra time, Morocco missed a couple of big chances. Both teams actually had chances to win it in extra time. Spain right at the end through Sarabia, but it went to penalties, and poor penalties from Spain. None of them put their foot through it, whereas Morocco did, and it was an amazing penalty from Hakimi to win the game. I mean, to have the balls to do that, just chip it down the middle, was incredible, really. And Bono was the hero for Morocco in this game, I guess, really. Especially in the penalty shoot, and I think when he goes back to Sevilla after this World Cup, he might. Now, this is just a small inkling in my brain here that's telling me this. He might not be the most popular person, but I'm sure Sevilla's fans will forgive him eventually. And then back to Croatia, who managed to beat Brazil on penalties after a 1-1 draw. It was a really close game. Croatia, I felt, had the better start to the game. They just had more chances earlier on, and I thought it was a really slow start to the game from Brazil, to be honest. They just couldn't get going at all in that first half, and all they really did was had a couple of tame efforts on goal, and that was it really. They weren't really causing Livakovic much trouble in the first 35-40 minutes of the game, and Croatia were causing Brazil problems, especially Juranovic from right back getting forward and causing Danilo at left back for Brazil all sorts of problems. They had this sort of system where Pasalic would it would change every time they went forward. Either Pasalic would come inside and sort of like act as an inverted forward with Juranovic going down the outside, or Juranovic would almost come inside and then try and slide Pasalic through to put a cross in the box for either Kramaric or Perisic, and that caused Brazil a lot of problems defensively. And I mean as well, one thing I have to point out was Modric, age 37, still the best player on that football pitch in this game. 37 years old. People talk about James Milner, for example, age 36, I think he is. He might be 37 next month, I think he is. Similar age to Modric, and he gets a lot of credit for that, and rightly so. But the fact that Modric is still doing it at this level, at this age, is phenomenal, really, and he deserves a lot more credit for it. For me, he's an all-time great for how good he has been throughout his career. And yeah, I think part of Brazil's problem defensively in that first half was also Casemiro getting isolated in midfield because Paqueta and Neymar were trying to push high up the pitch, but they weren't getting much success. So when Croatia did come forward, the midfield trio of Brozovic, Modric and Kovacic were all getting the better of Casemiro and basically just outnumbering Brazil in midfield at times. And yeah, it was only towards the end of the half that Brazil really started to get into gear when they started to get a few shots off, and in the second half they made a much better start to the game, and then Croatia just had to sort of stop pushing men forward and just focus on defending, and yeah, from then on Croatia barely had any chances in normal time especially, and they defended really well for the majority of the second half. There were a couple of shaky moments towards the start of it. But Gvardiol and Lovren at the centre of defence was superb, especially, I thought. And just looking at my notes here, Livakovic was actually forced into saves from Brazil shots in the second half, so it was a lot better from Brazil in that second half, and it was just domination for the last half an hour of it especially. But it did go to extra time, obviously. And Brazil got the breakthrough through Neymar. Brilliant goal, great 1-2 with Rodrigo, great 1-2 with, I think it was Paqueta on the edge of the box. It slides through Neymar. Neymar takes it around Livakovic and manages to clip it into the empty net at a tight angle, to be fair, but goal you expect from that point in the move. But brilliant goal, and you're just thinking, right, that's Neymar's moment, isn't it? Brazil, they're going to go through here, no way back for Croatia. But Petkovic off the bench for Croatia just produces two moments of magic. The first one, he's going forward for Croatia, and it looks like he's going nowhere. He's got Militao and Marquinhos, I think it was, in front of him, or it might have been Marquinhos and Thiago Silva, and he just produces this brilliant drag foot roll skill where he manages to get past both of them, lays it off to Brozovic, who fired it over the bar. But Petkovic got his moments in the second half of extra time. It was a deflected shot, but it was still a great moment. Took its penalties, and once again, Livakovic the hero for Croatia, but also Croatia taking some brilliant penalties, whereas Brazil wasn't too bad, but Marquinhos has got to keep his shot on target. That is the number one rule for penalties, and we saw Harry Kane break it last night, unfortunately, but I 100% forgive Harry Kane for that. Anyway, And then the final game I wanted to cover today was Morocco beating Portugal. I mean, another shock result, brilliant game. It was early domination from Portugal, as you expect, to be honest. Very clear that Morocco was set up to play on the counter-attack like they have done this tournament against the bigger teams. Spain was probably the best example of this. And Portugal, they were trying this thing where, especially in the first half, where they were trying to get diagonal balls over to João Felix on the left, who was probably their best attacking player in this game. He was the one who looked most likely to create a goal or even score a goal, getting some good shots off. But this didn't really work, because I think the idea behind it is Achraf Hakimi's going to get forward, so he's going to leave a little bit of spacing behind, leaving hopefully for them a big enough gap for them to have some room to either create something or score from that sort of position. But I think they failed to recognise that Croatia and Morocco. I need to switch in between. I need to go into Morocco mode here. I think they failed to realise that Morocco, Hakimi for Morocco is a different player to what he is for PSG or what he has been for Inter Milan and Borussia Dortmund in the past. For Morocco, it's mostly focusing on defending and then getting forward. I think Hakimi is seen as this very good player going forward, but not so good defensively, and that is incorrect, really. He's quite good defensively as well, which is something we're learning from this tournament, or a lot of people are anyway. And yeah, so this wasn't as effective as Portugal probably hoped, to be honest. And they were struggling to create chances in that first half. Morocco were letting them have shots from distance, but low quality shots, and Bono saved most of them. And yeah, brilliant defending from Morocco throughout the game. And yeah, just really strong. But the goal, they managed to nick a goal just before half time. It was a brilliant leap from En-Nesyri. I've seen a lot of people criticising Ruben Diaz for it, but I don't see it personally. I think it's an incredible leap. You can't expect Diaz to beat him to it. I think the one small criticism you could possibly make is he didn't do enough to put En-Nesyri off. But I think you're picking at straws there, really. I think the bulk of the blame anyway, has to probably go on Diogo Costa, the goalkeeper, because he completely misjudges the flight of the ball and basically leaves an open goal for En-Nesyri to head into. So not great from him. And yeah, brilliant leap from En-Nesyri though. It was like Ronaldo, ironically, who actually came on in the second half for Ruben Neves, who I didn't see the point in starting Ruben Neves in this game from Fernando Santos. Because in that Switzerland game in the previous round, William Carvalho had such a good game, and I'm just thinking, well, just keep the same starting 11. You've kept Gonzalo Ramos in, just keep William Carvalho as well. It worked, just keep it. And yeah, Neves had very little impact. And when Ronaldo came on, he did what you expect, stayed in the penalty area and tried to finish off any chances he could. But Morocco defended so well that he got very few chances to score. Like, any chances he did get were half chances as well. So, you can't really fault him. But yeah, Morocco, what even adds to this, fairy tale story of them being the first African team to reach semi-final of the World Cup, which is an incredible achievement, by the way. Massive congratulations to them for doing that, is the fact that their backline, their back four, has been completely decimated by injury. Romain Saiss is out. Mazraoui, who is a right back playing left back, is out as well. And in the previous round, even Aguerd got injured. So it's literally just Hakimi remaining from their preferred back four that they had at the start of the tournament. So that is massive, achievement for them to get through with that issue. Portugal were putting Morocco under lots of pressure towards the end. They had a brilliant chance to equalise through Pepe right at the end of the game. Should have scored, they didn't, and they started to get desperate towards the end. The only downside to the game for Morocco is that Chedira managed to get himself sent off a little bit foolishly because he just picked up a yellow card. And for me, I thought the second yellow card was very harsh, but you shouldn't put yourself in that position, especially when you've only just been booked, because you're going to be on the referee's mind. And yeah, it just wasn't the smartest decision ever from Chedira. But Morocco are through, and that's amazing.